Hello and welcome to this Ant Mini Hangout. My name is Brian Casey. I'm editor-in-chief of AntMini.com. We're glad to be with you today. We're discussing the fourth quarter numbers from the Medical Imaging Confidence Index, or MICI. We have with us today Ed Cronin. He is CEO of AHRA, the Association for Medical Imaging Management. And we also have with us Christian Reynaud-Dan. He is founder and CEO of the Marketech Group. Gentlemen, thank you for being with us today.
Good to be with you, Brian.
Our pleasure, Brian.
Christian, can you describe the MICI survey? What's the goal of it?
Well, MICI is a joint initiative between AHRA and the Marketech Group. It's been going on for 3 years now, almost. And we have a select group of imaging director members that are representative of the U.S. market. And we ask them the same 10 questions over and over every quarter, which indicates their optimism, if you wish, about the future, the next 3 months. So as you can see on the slide here, we have at the end of this quarter 133. We start with a little bit more, 160 members, but people change job or there might be some attrition, somebody forget. The scores are as indicated from 50 to 150. 150 indicates extremely high confidence. We've never seen that, but this is the top of the scale. And extremely low confidence is 50. And you can see we have a good representation of the market. As you know, the U.S. market is about half who are hospital with less than 100 beds. So if you want to go to the next slide, we have here the different questions, as I indicated, some that are asking about, if you bring the slide back, yeah, thank you. Some that are asking about the ability to grow the volume of imaging, some that are related to their optimism about reimbursement from Medicare. Another one about controlling cost, and we have 2 questions each time. And then the next one, next slide, we have their ability to secure capital, which is a very important item, as you all know, to be able to fund investments or other areas of medical imaging operation. And then finally, the bottom line is ability to grow as a profit center, and that's really a key one, because despite all the changes in reimbursement and such, you can see in the results, you'll see that they're still confident. We'll see that in a second. This is the geographic distribution. Again, we try to balance representation by states and regions. So we have the projection of the geographies as well. So for this quarter, the highlights, of course, is as I mentioned, they're very, very confident that they will control cost of staffing and operation, that it will remain constant. It may not be good news for technologists, but it is good news from the operation perspective, because salaries have been constant. Therefore, they feel very confident that they can continue to grow their imaging operation as a profit center. However, if you can go back to the results, we have a little bit of this chronic disease, chronic pessimism about the ability to secure reimbursement from Medicare, and I think the confidence has been very low, continues to be low. People are not optimistic about reimbursement. They've been decreasing constantly for the last 10 years. That's the highlight, Brian.
Great. So, Christian, looking at this this next slide here, and let me bring that up real quick.
Yeah. The line chart.
The line chart, right. So what we're kind of seeing here with this chart is we're seeing the MICI index over about 2 years. So we're seeing 2 years of data there. And what can you tell us about the chart there?
Well, first of all, when you look at the chart, the visual trending of the curves may not be significant, so we need to run statistical tests to be able to make the interpretation. However, directionally, you can see that this quarter, compared to the last prior quarters, we see a little bit of a dip on access to capital. That's the orange bar. But more significantly, we have a little bit more optimism, relatively speaking, about reimbursement. That's the bar that is in yellow.
And that's always been really low.
It's been always really low, yes, but this time this is coming back up a little bit. So I was starting by saying it's pessimism overall in the last 3 years, but we have a little bit of caution, as Ed you would say, being cautiously optimistic about reimbursement for the last 2 quarters. So if you can see on the line chart, if you bring it back, Brian, we have we can't see the chart. If you could bring the chart. We have this yellow bar going a little bit back up, and that is statistically significant. The difference from Q4 and Q2, Q1 is significant. We were at the lowest point in Q1. People were totally depressed, and now we're coming back. It's maybe, I don't know the interpretation, Ed, you may know, but there's a little bit of renewed optimism on this.
So to back things up a little bit, we talked a year ago, right about the same time, about the Q4 numbers for 2013, and I remember that call pretty clearly because things were pretty bleak back then. And I remember talking about, well, how are things? What are things going to be like going into the RSNA? And we all were just kind of felt a little. It was a little bit of a downer. Ed, do you see in the people in the members of AHRA that you talk to, are you seeing an improvement in sentiment that's been happening over the past year?
I think, maybe it's not so much optimism, but acceptance of a new reality, and the fact that I don't think anyone expects we're going to go back to the way things were before all this healthcare reform came into force. So I think it's a recognition that there's a new dynamic and everybody has to adapt. So looking at that line on reimbursements, I don't think anyone's optimistic that Medicare reimbursements are going to go up, but maybe that they aren't going to go down much further than they have, and that people are now recognizing they need to find new ways of doing things and delivering value and somehow providing quality service at a price that makes sense for the patients as well as the payers.
What sort of specific things do you see your members doing to try to accomplish some of those goals?
Well, I think there's always the stressing, keeping an efficient operation, and trying to balance that, with patient satisfaction. That's always a challenge for the members. So, also, a lot of the hospital systems are, consolidation, I think, is a word that I hear a lot, both in the hospitals and facility side as well as the radiology practices. So I think that's specializing in what you do best and focusing on that and kind of coordinating with other hospitals and systems to have efficiencies.
Okay, we've heard quite a bit in radiology about more patient-focused healthcare. Is that something that you see members focusing on a little bit more, as opposed to addressing the referring physicians more? Are your members trying to be more kind of consumer-oriented?
Well, I think they're going to need to be, with the competition that's happening now. Patients are, a lot of them now with the new healthcare policies have high deductibles, and so price is going to be important. Yes, they are trying to find ways to deliver value, and that's kind of the combination of the quality of service they provide at the price that they can provide it for. So
Okay.
keeping expenses as low as possible and just trying to do the best they can that way.
Good. Christian, anything that you think we can look forward to in the next 3 to 6 months regarding the index?
Well, I think Ed has got a very valid point. I think the reality has changed. People are adapting. But before I respond to your question, I would like to mention a few quotes, because this time we're capturing quotes from members who are participating to the index. And there's 3 recurring themes in all the quotes. And And this is not just reimbursement, it's tough, and it's a cloudy area. We are not sure. So the uncertainty continues. But something new that we didn't see before is the revenue, the volume has declined quite a bit overall. And I think the industry, all the vendors, OEMs and so on, have probably seen that too. I mean, this is not the booms of the years of where everybody wanted to get the 64 slicer, and everybody was ordering new technology. So there's a lot of caution. The other thing is that it's not the world is not equal. If you look at geographic and segments, first of all, hospitals in more than 300 beds are very confident, more confident than those who are 100 bed or less. So I think we're going to see a discrepancy increasingly between the smaller bed size, the struggle more, and the larger bed size. We've been, as you know, acquiring centers are able to scale up operation and do better overall. And one thing that I've seen from a quote from a relatively small hospital, it says, "We're now in the marrow of the bone." So there's no more to save or cut, But looking at the future, and to answer your question, I think our imaging directors and the hospital managers are resilient, and I think they're working more closely to address the issues, and I think that force people to be more efficient, to be more collaborative. That's the kind of things we've seen. So I think maybe the transformation of healthcare, I would venture to say it's more collaborative care.
And we're seeing radiology being a part of that.
Yes, and they are acquired, as you know, becoming staff members of hospital systems.
Okay, good. All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much. Some very interesting information here. It sounds like we're all just kind of getting used to the new normal in radiology, and maybe once things stabilize a little bit, we'll get back on a growth pattern, and so things will maybe hopefully start turning up.
Brian, absolutely. But let's continue to say that we are still seeing great technology being adopted. I think this is not the end of the world of innovation and adoption of technology. It's just a different way to adopt them.
Right. There's still billions of dollars in revenue that are coming in through medical imaging. It's just how that's going to be distributed perhaps in a different way than it was before.
Okay. I guess
the total is still going to be very significant.
Yep, I guess it all just depends on your perspective and what you're used to. So good. All right, well, gentlemen, thank you for being with us today. Signing off for AntMini.com. My name is again Brian Casey.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Christian.